Hey, it's Flippin' MJ here. Welcome to the June edition of MMA Monthly. Alright, MMA Monthly, this is where you get your fix on all the top submissions, knockouts, fights of the month, both in pro and amateur that we're covering. So, knockout of the month, Flip, you know, I think it came down to two different fights. One was Kampmann over Ellenberger. I think we're in agreement on that one. And then I give an honorable mention to Cub Swanson over Pearson the other day. You know, Kampmann over Ellenberger, I think the reason that, you know, we kind of agreed that that's knockout of the month, a little bit more shocking, don't you think?
It was, actually. I mean, what I expected out of that fight was for Kampmann to fight, you know, the way that he does kind of every other wrestler, where he stays out, you know, kind of a little bit on the outside, picks them apart, leaves them, you know, kind of like a bloody mess. But, yeah, he was able to kind of get that clinch cinched up and drop that knee. And I had to watch it again because I wasn't too sure that Ellenberger was totally out, but the first time. But yeah, on the replays, definitely Ellenberger. I mean, Kampmann just really surprised me, and it's pretty awesome because now, you know, he is where he probably should have been a while back, which is, you know, fighting in a #1 contender fight. Yeah,
definitely, he's right there at the top now. And then Cub Swanson looking just, you know, in great form, looked like his old WEC self, you know, with his knockout over Ross Pearson. So, you know, shout out to Cub Swanson there too. All right, submission of the month, I got to go with Eric Silva over Charlie Brenneman. This was an interesting matchup. Everybody was saying, how's Eric Silva going to, you know, compete with such an elite wrestler like Charlie Brenneman? Charlie Brenneman known for just taking guys down, grinding out decisions, and man, Eric Silva just owned him.
You know, I haven't had the opportunity to see this. Unfortunately, my cable provider, Cox Cable, they wound up going out there and saying that the fights were going to be running at this time, so I set the fights to record. And I wound up, you know, putting on the fights, and Armageddon was on, you know, so I didn't have a chance to watch that card. I was pretty upset, and just so you guys know, you suck, Cox.
So yeah, so Flip, he's going to get caught up. If you didn't catch it, make sure and catch it. Eric Silva, rising star. He looked great against Brenneman. Probably mismatch of the month on probably the worst card ever. You had Fabricio Verdum versus Mike Russo. The funny thing to me about this was I expected that if Verdum was going to beat him, it would either be just like a long drug-out decision or he'd get a submission. I didn't think he's going to go in there and knock out Mike Russo. So
I kind of thought he would. His boxing is, you know, up there. It's good enough. I mean, it's not, you know, it's really not about whether his boxing is good as far as on the offensive side. It's usually on the defensive side. But with someone like Mike Russo, I just figured, you know, he can go in there, he can play his offense, do whatever he wanted to. I mean, I figured he would beat him on the ground if it went to the ground. He would beat him on the feet if it was at the feet. I thought it would last a little longer, but I was even just questioning why they even matched him up against Mike Russo. I think that it would have been, you know, a better fit to hold off a little bit, wait to see what kind of was happening in the heavyweight division for a couple of fights, and then throw him back in. But, you know, it keeps Verdum's name out there. Verdum's a good guy, you know, and you know, he could probably be fighting for a title here pretty soon also. Yeah,
I know he's kind of, you know, looking for that title shot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, it's just odd to see, like, you know, Verdum fight guys like Alistair Overeem, Fedor, and a bunch of other, you know, top 10, you know, heavyweights, and then he's got to come down and take a step down for Russo. So at least he didn't make any excuses. He went out there, he finished him like everybody thought he should, and he got the win. So along the same lines as Fedor, everybody knows, you know, Fedor's hung him up, so to speak.
Don't look so upset.
Yeah. But my must-see performance of the month that people probably didn't see, and this wasn't the must-see because it was the greatest fight of all time or anything, but, you know, Fedor's last fight versus, you know, Pedro Rizzo. Catch it on YouTube. M1 was good enough to put it up there, probably because they had nobody pay for their pay-per-view, and they wanted to get somebody to watch the fight, so they put it on YouTube for free. It's good. It's vintage Fedor. He catches him with some nice hooks, drops him, takes him down to the ground. Just classic Fedor ground and pound. Good way to see Fedor go out. All right, so now on to the interesting stuff. In this show, we cover both the pros and the amateurs, and pretty much any amateurs for right now in Las Vegas. If you're on the scene, you're going to get talked about here on MMA Monthly with Fight Life Media. So if you haven't checked out the video that our guy Pono put together, the main event for this month was D-Day with Las Vegas MMA. Good event, great showing by a lot of good fighters out there. First guy I want to give a shout out to is Smash Fields. If you haven't seen this kid fight, he's an up-and-comer, strong wrestler, good grappling as well.
Slams.
Yeah, and good slams. which is appropriate for his nickname of Smash, because he fought this kid, and it's at about the minute and 5 mark. You see a little button pop up. Click on the video if you want to check it out. He slams the kid. Kind of a scramble ensues, and he catches him in a guillotine,
right,
and finishes him off. So good look out for Smash Fields. Eddie Guerrero.
Yep.
Living legend. Not the pro wrestler, but this is Eddie Guerrero on the amateur scene. Got a TKO victory. He's at about the minute 30 mark.
Yep.
Looking good there. Shawn, and I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering your name here, but Shawn Masiel had a really nice belly down arm bar that happens at about the minute 50 mark. Had it cinched in pretty tight. Luckily that ref jumped in there. Rob Fisher got a nasty arm bar, probably one of the submissions of the night, at about the 2-minute mark against his opponent. Looked good there. If you haven't checked out that interview, check out Rob. He's with Excel. Chris Fajardo, out of Sub Fighter, they had a really good showing at that fight. At about the 2-minute and 14-second mark, catches his opponent with a pretty nasty axe kick and ends up catching him with hands.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite techniques that I saw that whole night. I think it's rare that you see an axe kick thrown properly, especially when the guy's on the ground. I think the only time I've really seen it done right was when GSP did it against Jason Mayhem Miller. But yeah, that night he just caught him. I mean, there was a little bit of a controversy from the other fighter because he got caught on his chin with the tip of the foot, but it was no way intentional towards the head, so obviously he didn't get a foul for it, but it was great to see, even at the amateur level, to see that that executed properly.
Yeah, Chris Fajardo, this kid's got technique, he's got power. I'm really excited to see him fight again. Another exciting fighter that I'm really looking forward to is Kristian Woodmansee out of Drysdale's. He's at the 2-minute 45-second mark on Pono's video, the DDay video. Hits a slick transition and then catches this guy in an arm-in triangle choke. Took a little bit of a beating before he kind of cinched it in. But
yeah, he took quite a few hammer fists, but I mean his transitions in the jiu-jitsu game were just amazing. I mean, as far as watching a technical jiu-jitsu guy at the amateur level, I mean he's up there. It was kind of funny because he had the guy cinched in the triangle and he was just pounding away at Kristian's head, and then you just see him getting ready to tap, decides to throw a couple more shots, and then he just finally taps out. But I mean, it was an awesome job by Kristian Woodmansee, and we've seen a lot of good stuff coming out of Drysdale Jiu-Jitsu lately. Yeah,
definitely. Another guy out of Drysdale's, he was in the main event at DDay, Andrew Stramler. He caught the rear naked choke right at the very last second. He's at about the 3-minute 25-second mark on Pono's video, so make sure and check that out.
Yeah, this was an interesting one because it was literally the last, the clapper goes off. He decides he's going to cinch that choke in, squeezing as hard as he can, and his opponent put his hand out and just does a couple of taps. Anytime that happens, a tap's a tap. So the ref sees it, calls it off. Now what you have going on is you have Andrew Stramler leaving Las Vegas MMA to fight for the 205-pound title at Tuff-N-Uff. That's going to be this weekend on July 6th at the South Point Arena. He'll be fighting Corey Hendricks. Corey's a pretty tough kid also. I got to spend time with both of these guys in the gym. Andrew comes from a D1 wrestling background, wrestled for Cal State Bakersfield. He's obviously with Drysdale Jiu-Jitsu. His stand-up looks pretty clean. Corey, from what I've seen of him in training, his wrestling is really, really good also. He's really technical. Everything that he does, he makes sure that he's doing it properly. Just moved down here from Washington State. It's back where I used to ref, so should be an interesting fight. Okay, we also, in a 125-pound title matchup at Tuff-N-Uff, we have Tolan the Hawk Garcia fighting Art the Spider Monkey Nicholas. So the thing that's pretty cool about this, we were down at the gym talking to Tolan, and he was telling us that Art actually just told Tuff-N-Uff that was a fluke the first time that he beat him. For those of you who don't know, it's a rematch. And Tolan had actually wound up submitting him for the title, and this was back in October, so now it's the rematch. Art's basically going out telling everybody that it was a fluke. Honestly, Tolan seems a little pissed. Yeah. He says that he's not giving him the respect that he deserves for that win, and he's kind of dishonoring the belt. So what he's trying to do right now is he says he's going to finish him. you guys get a chance, make sure you watch the interview and hear what Tolan has to say about that. And we'll be catching up with Art pretty soon, so we'll have some video coverage out on him also.
Yeah.
Also, a shout out to Justin Driggers. He's also going to be fighting on the card. For those of you who may have not seen, we have some video cataloged for him. He was our featured fighter back in May. So it's Justin the Gravedigger Driggers. He'll be fighting Zach the Ripper Holbrook at 170 pounds. That's kind of more mid-card. So, you know, once the Fan Expo's over, you're able to get down to Tuff-N-Uff. Make sure you go down there, check that out. That should be around the time that Justin's fighting. Excellent Muay Thai, comes out of One Kicks. It's the same camp as guys like Anthony and Chidi and Joquani. You know, Phil Baroni's trained down there. You're also looking at, you know, Stephan Bonner. So that's a pretty tough camp that he comes out of. And he's all over town. I mean, he trains a little bit of everywhere, but that's pretty common here in Las Vegas for a lot of guys. So aside from that, you know, make sure that you're going down there. It's going to be July 6th at the South Point Arena. That's Tuff-N-Uff and has some of the best amateur fights in the country at the time.
Yeah, definitely. You got to check them out. Their production, second to none. They always put on great cards. You know, all the sponsors that are there. Just the venue itself, it's a really great, well put together show. So it's well worth it. Go check them out. All right. So then on to UFC 148. Just so you guys want, you know, we're going to be at all the events. We've got our press credentials. We're ready to go. Come say hi to us if you're down there. We're going to be at the expo on Friday and Saturday. We're going to be at the press conference on Tuesday. We're going to be at Club XS for the open workouts on Thursday. Friday we've got the weigh-ins, the expo going. A great night of fights at UFC 148, so really looking forward to that.
Yeah, and there's tons of stuff at these fan expos. I don't know, you know, for those of you that haven't been to them, usually they do the Hall of Fame induction, so we have Tito Ortiz getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. You know, for those of you guys that are fighters, you want to learn for some pros, you definitely have that opportunity. You know, they have fighters come out, show a couple of techniques. You can throw on your gym shorts and get in there and roll with some of the best in the world. So. Yeah. You know, the Fan Expo has a little bit of everything. There's the Grappler's Quest event if you're grappling and you want to compete. You know, so there's tons of stuff going on this week. Like we said, it's the biggest fight week, you know, in the country for the UFC. We also have some of the best amateur fighting, you know, going on at the time. So make sure you guys check it out. Make sure you guys follow the site, www.fightlifemedia.com, just to keep updated with everything that's going on.
Yeah, definitely. So check us out. We're going to have content, new content dropping daily over the course of that whole week. So, and as always, you know, for additional coverage and exclusive content, make sure and check us out at fightlifemedia.com, where we're covering MMA from the ground up.